what we are going to together present is basically, the current initiative that Ranbaxy has decided to take up to implement MES in our manufacturing facilities. To start with, the part that I'm going to cover is around the need that made Ranbaxy eventually decide for implementing an MES system. So if you look at that, to start with, we are talking about, we are dealing with the human life here. So we are talking about the drugs that need to deliver what they promise. There is no really a second chance. And the patient, doctors, the relatives have the belief in the efficacy that needs to be delivered when the drug is manufactured. Now, at the same time, let's look at the pharma industry very quickly and see what's really going around. Now, the most of, the blockbuster drugs that the industry is known for with billions of USD in turnover, this pool is really drying up. And at the same time, the NCEs or the new chemical entities that are coming into the arena is again drying up. So there's virtually nothing during the last 15 years. Then at the same time, aging population in the developed world has led to the schemes like Obamacare. The same thing is being replicated. Just for the understanding of the audience here, the generics part is basically the off-patented drugs, which are available at much, much lower prices than the patented drugs during their, while the patent is effective. And but not just in the developed countries that we are seeing things like these, but the generics era is dawning even in the developed countries. So more and more emphasis is being laid on the generics drugs, and it is becoming mandatory for the prescribers to first put in the generics name and then move over to the patented drug. And again, the complete manufacturing itself is shifting towards the developing nations, primarily to Asia and the Eastern Europe. So what I'm going to cover is that why really we need an eBPR. eBPR is basically a short form for the electronic batch production record. That is what the MES delivers for us. What are the key drivers we have, the solution that we are looking for, the process instructions that eventually get mapped into the MES system, the equipment management, and the OPC, and finally the XSI. The latter part is going to be more covered by my colleague from Siemens. Okay, now the key driver. Very simply and straightforward, we are not talking about productivity here, which seems to be the concern in most of the industries. But here for pharma and for Ranbaxy, it is going to be compliance. Compliance to the regulatory requirements world across. So we are talking about the compliance, which lays emphasis on, questions like, it's not really on it's like produce versus the prove. What we mean here is it's not just what we are producing, it is that we need to prove to the agencies across as to how that has been manufactured. They are more interested not so much in the final product, but exactly how you have actually produced the product. Second is going to be you have to produce and document. So document bit here is to driving from the proof part of it as to you have to document it. There needs to be a documentary evidence in place for the process that has been taken up. And finally, the cost of non-compliance is very, very high in terms of the kind of the impositions or the products not being allowed in certain countries is extremely, extremely high. The Indian pharma industry per se, carrying over from what I mentioned about the compliance or the importance there. So getting the warning letters from the US FDA, then product recalls, the negative brand image it eventually leads to, is all leading to much higher cost for the industries for the pharma industry, and especially the Indian manufacturing for pharma. Now the key operational challenges. Let's have a look at that. Now, from the MES perspective, it's the complexity of the operation in a generics pharma industry. What I like to highlight really is that vis-a-vis the, a patented drug manufacturer in the West, when we talk about generics manufacturing, the kind of challenges that we face are that we really have a very, very high number of SKUs to deal with. The batch sizes are invariably small, leading to a lot of changeovers. And then, on top of it, the number of SKUs themselves undergo a lot of change because of the changing in the packaging requirements that keep coming from various markets. So a product of ours might be getting sold in 175 countries. The same product, however, different to some extent because of the chemical composition, but more often because of the packaging requirements that each regulatory agency may have in a different way. And on top of it, the challenge from the manufacturing perspective is restricting the usage of the resources. So you need to have, for a particular drug, the manufacturing equipment where it's going to be produced needs to be absolutely validated, and the flexibility is limited in this aspect. So coming from the complexity bit of it, what it leads to, which becomes important, an aspect here which I like to touch upon, which is extremely critical, is the culture bit of it. That is where, when we look at putting MES in place, this is a critical area that we'd like to address. Now what happens and what has happened in the Indian generics space is we have experienced phases where there was a high growth in the organization, where the manufacturing itself underwent a lot of pressure in order to deliver. The supply chain had to really gear up. As I said, the manufacturing itself or the supply chain itself is extremely complex, and the manufacturing had to deliver products under immense pressure. Also at the same time taking care of the compliance requirements. So what we are really dealing with is a culture where we may have issues like what is acceptable, what is considered to be correct, and at the same time about the procedure for acceptance. What I am doing, whether it is acceptable, whether I am at any particular point in time stepping out of the desired or the required process. So when we look at automation, and when we talk about automation in terms of the process or in terms of eBPR or digitizing the batch production record, what we are talking about is that digitizing a batch production record which could run in hundreds of pages. What it basically means is that we have to take care of documentation and we have to take care of the process. At the same time, what's critical is that we need to ensure that there is simplicity and standardization at the same time. Otherwise, the process, the whole process may run so complicated that it is the acceptance or the acceptability within the manufacturing community is going to be extremely low. So when we look at the current reality, the manufacturing process, the challenges that we need to, or rather, the area that we need to ensure is basically data and documentation on one part. The shop floor process adherence is the second one. The batch review is basically the in-process quality control that we need to ensure. And finally, the validations. So any changes, any other aspect or any other component of the overall manufacturing process that may include material, machine, or manpower, that needs to be validated. So when we talk about data and documentation, it's basically, we are talking about the contemporaneous recording. So at what particular time a particular process has been carried out and how the data for that is recorded. So we need to be extremely particular about this aspect. We also need to ensure that the environmental data is recorded at the same time. So if, for example, my particular machine has been running with certain parameters, was it as per the requirement, as per the recipe that we had to manufacture it with, and whether during the whole process of manufacturing actual parameters were adhering to this. So all that needs to be recorded. And similarly, the shop floor process adherence, especially the operational sequences. So whether I am carrying out a particular activity after I have completed one prior to it. So we need to ensure all those things. And same is the case with the batch review. We need to ensure that's where the IPQ or the in-process quality assurance need to be ensured. So as I was saying, one BPR or batch process record could mean up to 1,000 of pages, at least 5,000 manual entries that need to be carried out. So we have to strictly follow the concept of the doer and the reviewer, where the actual doer, once he completes a particular operation, needs to be verified by the reviewer. And all these entries are subject to audit. So what we're talking about is that, let's say, these thousands of entries that are made in a batch production record for any particular batch can be audited and observations made, and their impact is quite serious in case there is any deviation observed. So, and at the same time, if we look at I think that the slide that Manish may present later, the number of people on the shop floor who are actually producing is almost same as the number of people who are out there to inspect. With MES, what we do expect is the doer aspect per se, the recording of the parameters of the process steps is all carried out by the MES system. I will now invite Manish to come over and let you know how this whole thing is being planned to be mapped in the MES system from Siemens. From our side, the project has been initiated. We have a long way yet to go. However, we expect that the challenges that I highlighted, they will be met, and with a very, very simplified and standardized solution, we should be in a position to meet our objectives. Thank you very much. Manish.
Thank you, Jayant. So I will now talk about what we are doing, and before I get into the technical solution, I would actually like to tell you why, somehow pharma industry boasts that we are 20 years behind the actual, semiconductor industry, which is supposed to be the ahead of everybody. So we are proud of 20 years behind thing. So what to prove? What to prove is environment in which the drug was manufactured. So you can't have an environment in which there were flies inside. So you need to have a controlled environment. You need to use only the machines which has been validated to produce that drug. And the validation record also needs to be updated periodically. So apart from 1,000 pages per batch, which you saw, you also have thousands of pages which are there for other things, like which are for equipment, for training. So you need to have material, you need to have machine, you need to have manpower. So everything needs to be documented and controlled. Now what this leads to? So cycle time. So cycle time in batch manufacturing in pharmaceutical is, if you have, like, had it been a semiconductor, had been any other industry, it would have been any 15 to 20 days. Whereas in pharma it is 40 days. Okay, and if you look at the manpower structure in a manufacturing site in pharma, you will not believe. You have more number of policemen than the common people. So you have more number of quality assurance guys who are supposed to ensure quality than the people who are actually doing manufacturing. Okay, and this is the reality which, which we are working on, and unfortunately this is a reality despite of being in a very squeezed EBIT margins at which Indian generics is manufacturing today. So now these are the realities which is leading to a demand of MES solutions, and EBR or electronic batch record being the most important and most critical document which a pharma industry needs to maintain. So people are now going for EBR solutions. So now I will be more on the solution part, so we talked about that you need to have user management, and we need to ensure that the person who is going to do a certain step has been trained in that step. And not only that he has been trained in that step, his training is current. So the rule is that after every 6 months or a year, you need to retrain the person on the similar thing. Okay, so the system is supposed to ensure that the person who is supposed to do a particular step is trained and his training is current. So one of the demand from the system is that it should have a very solid user management system, and it should also enable, less bureaucratic. So it should not be that there are 5 user management software and we are introducing another one. So the expectation from Ranbaxy was that we should be able to give a single sign logon. So it's connected to their Active Directory. The user list comes directly from their Active Directory. Ours is just a filter, and it also allows a group. So we can make group according to the skill set of the person, and the skill set can also be periodically changed. So that was one. I'm told that I have to finish fast, so I'm going fast at the latest speed of Indian super fast trains, 160 kilometers. Okay, so the second one is material. Now, just if you have not worked in pharma industry, a material or warehouse is the place where every regulator or every auditor goes. Okay, there are 2 reasons for that. Material is the most important. Raw material which goes into manufacturing of a drug is the most important thing. Okay, it needs to be controlled. The second reality is it's very easy to find faults there. Okay, so these are the 2 reasons why every auditor will definitely go to warehouse when he comes for an audit, and hence warehouse automation, and more so of weighing and dispensing automation, is very, very important. So what we do, so what the system requirement is, the requirement from customers is that you should be able to interface to the ERP, because ERP normally manages the material. So it is responsible for procurement of material and warehousing of material. What our system does is that it seamlessly gets integrated with ERP, and continuously for each and every batch it gets dumped from the ERP and ensures that you are able to dispense material according to the requirement of the batch. Okay, and like just to give you the current reality, for dispensing one material there are 7 records which are generated. If you are on a paper system, there are 7 records which get generated. There are more than 4 persons who get involved in it. Okay, and at 7 records there are at least 27 to 30 entries which are made for dispensing one material, and each batch needs at least up to 50 to 70 materials. Okay, so as I said, it is very easy to find a fault. So if requirement was 25.06 gram, if somebody just leaves that 6, you are out of the business, and hence you have more number of police to see that that 6 is written properly. Second is work orders. Like Jayant touched upon this point, if like we take a simple example of aspirin being one molecule, and if that is supposed to be manufactured by an Indian pharma company, you will have up to 100 SKUs for only aspirins, because it will go to say 70 countries. So for each country you will have different SKU, because each country needs a different kind of documentation. Then you will have different dosage of, so you will have 10 mg, 20 mg, 40 mg, so for that you will have another kind of. So getting the correct order and interpreting that which batch record has to be used for which batch order which has come from ERP is very important. Okay, so then you have a control over work order and PI. PI is process instruction management. So work order comes from ERP, and then you have a BPR which is say around 200 pages. Okay, so that get merged automatically. So you have to write business rules in both systems, and then they talk to each other, and then you have the all the time correct PI which gets merged. So this control eliminates any need or any for another person to come and see after 5 or 7 days whether the correct batch record was used or not. Okay, so this is another control which we are trying to implement. Weighing and dispensing. Okay, now weighing and dispensing, as I said, is the most important step, and you have to be correct. Here the requirement is that if it is 3 decimal places, if you have said that I will be controlling my weighing and dispensing to 3 decimal places, you have to all the time prove that it was there for 3 decimal places. Not only that, the place, the room in which you did dispensing needs to be controlled. The scale which you used for dispensing needs to be in calibrated state. And just for your information, the scale gets calibrated every day. Okay, and before they change from API to excipients, you need to clean the whole room. Okay, and you have to ensure that the room really got cleaned. Okay, so all these things, it's not only, you know, automation in which you are able to get data from a sensor to a computer. No, it's much more than that. It is controlling the room. It is controlling that everything, all actions which has been done properly. Okay, and then generating record of it. Okay, so weighing and dispensing hence is one of the most critical. Looks simple, but it's one of the most complex things to achieve. Okay, and this is also an area, you know, like if someone is looking at doing a piecemeal rollout, then this is the first area which people normally target. Okay, now once you have done dispensing, what you will do is you will be doing dispensing in campaign mode. So you have, say, 10 batches which you have to produce, and 10 batches has, say, 10 ingredients. So what people do is that they weigh first ingredient, so for 10 batches. So they just weigh 10 and then they keep it out. After that, they clean the whole room, they clean the scale, then they calibrate the scale, then they go to the second. So this procedure gets repeated 10 times. Now if you go out of the weighing room, you will find that hundreds of pockets or hundreds of drums are lying. They may be barcoded, but there are hundreds of them which are lying, and you have a probability that you will do mistake. Another rule, even if line item 1 was dispensed for batch 1, it cannot be used in batch 2 as line item 1. You have to only use the same line item which you dispensed for that particular batch. Hence, you need to have another step outside the dispensing room called reconciliation, in which you are palletizing the ingredients onto a pallet. Okay, and then generate another barcode which will be for that batch. Okay, that goes into another room. There again you do this. So you know why we are 20 years, like, see, when I changed over from power sector to life sciences, for 2 years I used to think that why the hell I have changed. Okay, there was nothing, like I used to work on a boiler section and gas turbine. I was very happy. Okay, but when you actually understand the significance, after 2 years I now understand the significance, and if you understand the significance of all these controls, you will realize that they are necessary to guarantee that the injection which a patient gets at ICU works, and it does deliver what is desired from it. Okay, so then I will get into the batch record part. So as we said, the batch record goes through 3 phases. One is creation. Okay, so we said that you have large number of SKUs. Each SKU will have a unique batch record, which means one site will have around alive 1,000 batch records. Okay, and there would be obsolete another 5,000 to 7,000 batch records. Okay, so you have a procedure of approving a batch record and changing the batch record. This normally in a paper-based environment takes 3 to 4 weeks, which means that your flexibility to change from one batch system, one record system to another record system is almost 4 weeks. Okay, what you can do by implementing EBR is that you can automate this, and the reviewer can see what was there earlier and what has exactly been changed. Okay, a bit difficult proposition to do, but once you have done this, you are able to reduce those 4 weeks to probably 5 days or 1 working week. Then we have talked about work order and PI merging. Then task execution. What is done, and I will cover this later briefly, is in task execution the system ensures that the task goes only into a room in which that particular task is supposed to be carried out, guaranteeing to the auditor that the record has not been filled in an air conditioned room in quality control, but it has been filled at a place where it was supposed to be filled. So guarantee number one. Guarantee number two, it can only be assessed by the person who is supposed to get that task. Okay, so the auditor gets that comfort that okay, it has been done in front of the machine, it has been done by the person who was supposed to do it. Okay, and then as the alert happens, it goes to the concerned people according to the business rules which has been written. Okay, which is very, very important. You see, you have a scenario in which you have 5 persons reviewing what has been done, okay, after the batch is done. And if they find that at step number 5 there was a mistake, okay, then you do not know what to do, okay. But in this scenario, the moment there is an alert, it could be an process alert, it could be an quality alert. The moment there is an alert, the signal goes with an alert deviation record. It goes to the concerned person according to the workflow, and the person acts immediately. So apart from making BPR or EBR, like reducing the time, it also helps you in improving your quality. And then review section I have covered. This I will skip because I am getting 0 minutes. So we talked that Jayant touched upon that sequencing of steps. See, a chemical plant, and I will just give you a comparison between chemical and an API plant. In a chemical plant, normally the number of steps would be say 70 or 80, whereas in API, which is a similar fine chemical plant, if you actually get into API, you will find that the number of steps run into around 800 to 900 to 1000 steps. Okay, and hence pharmaceutical chemistry is slightly complex than the normal chemistry. Okay, and hence you have a different kind of people who are there. Okay, and one of the things, in order to manage those 800 steps, one of the things which you have to do is that you need to have a strong workflow engine. Okay, so once the first step is done, then only the second step should come, and you need to put all the, it's similar to the DCS logics which we normally we have seen, but this is slightly different because this is not only doing automated thing, this is also talking to different documentation system. So probably the green box could be talking to the documentum system of the partner. This box could be talking to the LIMS. Okay, so that is why this is different. So you are not only talking to via OPC or any other channel to underlying system, you are also talking to systems which are completely different and operating in a different scenarios. So how do you design the workflow? So this graphic actually tells you that you can, one of the good thing about this system is less change management. A person is very much used to see those 1000 pages, okay, and then he says that okay, I should not be seeing a prompt on my laptop or on my interface. I should be seeing same thing. So system allows you to copy and paste your existing system, so the change to the operator is less, and then you can very well do the workflow thing which I just explained, and I'm given a warning that I have to move fast, so I will be moving still faster. Give me 5 more minutes because I'm quite passionate about it and I can't go much faster than this. I'm sorry. So production, execution, and EBR. As you see, now this is how an operator sees. He is supposed to do an action, he gets that work field, he puts that action, and when he is at that place and he does a wrong entry, it becomes red. Okay, and he still chooses to move ahead. He gets this prompt, which is this deviation prompt. He says okay. The moment he says okay, an email goes to his supervisor that, okay, this was the deviation which has happened. Okay, and then the supervisor does his action, then it goes to the quality assurance manager that operator and supervisor has agreed, do you agree to this or not? Okay, once supervisor agrees, then only the workflow allows you to go to the next step. Okay, so this is much more robust quality assurance. So apart from reducing those 1,000 pages, we are also ensuring, you know, quality in real time. Quality control, this is, you know, this is something which I can go a bit faster. Quality control is the moment, you know, like if you have hundreds of steps, at few steps it's a quality gate. You have to take your sample and give it to the quality control department, and they have to approve that now you can go to the next gate. So hence quality control get integrated into the system. Batch release and approval, partly we have already covered, but this kind of systems or interface can get developed so that the QA person is able to, you know, approve at last that it has been, the batch has been produced the way it was supposed to be. And this is enterprise integration. You know, one of the challenges which we faced with Ranbaxy definitely, and at other places also where we talked about our solution, is that somehow many of the aspect is already there in one or other system. Okay, so when you are trying to put your system, it should be able to, you know, seamlessly get integrated with the other system, and the main system, fortunately or unfortunately in India, is SAP. Okay, so the systems whichever you produce or you try to market in India, you need to ensure that it is able to talk to ERP seamlessly. Now, this is one business benefit which I can show. Somehow all along my year, whatever I have done has resulted into reduction of people, but I'm not proud of that. I'm proud that I have always reduced cycle time, and the efficiency has increased because of my work. So if you see, without MES, the cycle time was almost 40 days. We expect that with MES, because of large reduction in review process, okay, we will be able to achieve around 20 to 22 days. So thank you. This was my last slide, and sorry for taking 5 more minutes.